If you're a Potemkin player, you probably know that Potemkin can do a space meaty Garuda on characters that have a DP. If you do this correctly, it'll outright beat the DP and leave your opponent open for a massive punish. This is fairly consistent with characters that have a DP, but there is one character in particular whose DP requires a little more work than this to get around. Guilty Gear Strive's iteration of Sin has a pretty unique DP, which unfortunately makes getting this Garuda Oki a lot more difficult. Sin's DP is a lot bigger than most of the cast, meaning in order to get Space Garuda Oki, you have to stand even further back than normal. Even with this correctly spaced Garuda, you could probably spot one, if not multiple problems with the setup. The first issue is how much space we're leaving between ourselves and Sin. At this range, if Sin simply FD blocks on Wake Up, then you're left with pretty few options after pushback. The second issue, which is a lot more obvious, is that Sin's DP has a second hit. The second hit goes even further than the first, and reacting to whether you've correctly spaced your Garuda is possible, but I doubt you actually want to think that hard playing Strive. Furthermore, if we fail to react in time and accidentally block the second hit of Sin's DP, he has access to a few follow-ups which he can use to RPS his way out of getting counter hit. While it currently sounds pretty doom and gloom for Potemkin in this situation, there are a few workarounds that we have access to. First off, we have access to safe jumps. You'll be surprised how easy it is for Pot to perform safe jumps in pretty common situations. On a 2D knockdown, you can very consistently hammer full break frame kill to get a JS or a JH safe jump. On any throw or pot buster done in the corner, you have access to a 5p frame kill for another safe jump. Now, understandably, safe jumps can leave a lot to be desired. They're only reversal safe, not reversal proof, and anyone with 50 meter can simply take their turn back. Also, Garuda is just really good. Being plus 19 with Guard Crush on block is almost too good to give up just because Sin's DP is a little wonky. So, if you really want Garuda Oki vs Sin, and you're versed in the matchup enough to properly space your Garuda, I have invented an OS for this situation so that you can cover your bases on your first layer of offense. I call it the Meaty Garuda Heat Knuckle Mega Fist OS. It's performed by doing your regular Garuda Oki, while Potemkin is in the active portion of his Garuda, quickly perform a Heat Knuckle input. After this Heat Knuckle input, perform a Mega Fist input. If all is done correctly, you'll always be in a good situation. Let me explain. If you have done everything correctly, that being your Garuda is a properly timed meaty and your spacing is good, you'll find yourself with a Mega Fist counter hit. Of course, with meter, you can really pump the damage off this counter hit. So what's with the Heat Knuckle input? Well, the Heat Knuckle input is to cover for a clash. A very common problem you'll run into with Garuda Oki versus DP characters is when you get a clash, which can happen when your Garuda is slightly off-timed and there is an overlap between your hitbox and the DP hitbox. When a clash occurs, both characters have an opportunity to cancel into basically anything that isn't a standard movement option like left or right. A very common clash input is FD block. Most characters who clash on their DP are also typically still on the ground. Even though Kai's DP doesn't clash on the ground, he still has the option to do another DP, due to Kai's DP being an Aero K special. However, uniquely to Sin, this clash happens while he's airborne and he cannot use his DP while in the air. This means that unless Sin has 50 meter to spend on RTL, cancelling into Heat Knuckle from the clash is basically guaranteed, and both hit or block is good for Potemkin. This is why in this OS we're inputting Heat Knuckle once we're in our active frames of Garuda. We can get Heat Knuckle every time on Clash, and with no Clash, we're still able to punish Sin's DP by hopping over the second hit with Mega Fist, completely avoiding the RPS minigame from his follow-up options. Of course, if you are the diligent Sin player, you might be able to find a workaround to this OS, but like most options in fighting games, it's very rare that you can cover absolutely every option. And if your answer is to no longer DP against Potemkin's Garuda, then you're just giving Potemkin what he really wants. Thanks for watching. Now go plotbuster a Sin player on Netplay.